Now we live in a vast opportunity of government operations throughout EMEA. There's a rich collection of different cultures and diverse circumstances that are driving different pressures onto governments, but most of the countries have similar issues that they need to deal with, and that's the ones I kind of wanted to touch on today. What we do see, demand in government increasing as an expanding population. There's more of us to deal with. Part of that population is aging, so they're becoming an older population to deal with, and that means that there's less people paying taxes to support the large population. And also citizens have preferences. Some still want to deal with a paper and a pen and to fill out a form to apply for something. The younger generation won't hardly do anything if it's not on an app to be able to fill out a form and submit an application via that way. So there's an increased demand on how to deal with this situation. And what we find is there's a funding gap there. Some are trying to increase the income that's coming in, and they're doing that in a number of different ways. For example, my personal council tax has been raised, but within that they've split some things out of that for me to pay additional charges for. Some are also looking at reducing services or diluting services, which increases waiting times and sometimes putting the emphasis on us as individuals to do more. And then there's the area which drives efficiencies, and that's really where we're focusing on today and where we can really help organisations to improve the efficiencies that they have, to do more with less. For example, getting the patient records directly to that clinician who needs it in due time, exactly when he needs it. And so the example I'm going to talk about today is around archiving of documents for a national archive. But within that, there's two key factors that I think we all need to drive opportunities through within local government. One is to improve the customer experience, which is something that they're always looking at. How do you improve the efficiency of that? But secondly, if you can improve the customer experience but do it at a reduced cost, then you've got the ability to try and drive that opportunity forward because it has some weight behind it. And that's what we're able to do with this particular opportunity I'm going to talk to you about now. So we were approached by a national archive to be able to digitise all of their archives. And I asked them about how much that was, how much paper was it. They didn't talk to me in pages, which is what I was expecting, and people normally do. They spoke to me in kilometres of paper, 135 kilometres of paper. It was all to be stacked on top of each other. We got some more requirements out of them that then needed to be captured in a certain time frame, and they were looking for the proof of concept around 14,000 images per hour. Those documents needed to be looked after and cared for because some were old, they were fragile, they were vulnerable, and they didn't want them to be torn and then not be able to see the images correctly. They also needed some unique coding that needed to be required for the output and digitisation of this process to be able to hand it over to the next part of the process. They needed services all around that. Who was going to implement it, install it, set it up, configure it right and support it going forward. And of course, all of that needed to be done on time and to budget, which was key for the sign-off of that. Some of the key challenges that we then had, and I thought I would put this into play. It's not very sales of me to talk about a challenge that we had. Often salespeople just think everything's great and we had no problems at all. But let me share with you one challenge that we had with this particular project. It was that when we approached this project, we were trying to get the speed, get all of these documents scanned and captured at the right time. However, the customer was around image quality and the need to balance that off. If I pictorially show this for you, we would approach an account like this. We would look at the volume of data or pages that would need to be captured. We'd look at how many operators they had, how many shifts they were working on, and therefore we would then be able to design how many scanners they would need run at a certain speed in order to capture everything they needed to in the time frame that was allotted to do this in. And so we were very much coming from a speed and productivity angle. The customer, on the other hand, was coming from an image quality perspective, and quite rightly so. These were their archives, their documents that they cherished for many, many years. And the quality of image was key to them. They wanted to be able to fully reflect the image online for anyone to be able to view, and it had to be a direct representation of what the original document looked like, scribbles on it, tea stains and all. The challenge is, of course, we could put a load of flatbed photo scanners in there, but to do 135 kilometers, they would be here for the next century trying to scan those things in. So there had to be a medium ground here of how we could take this forward. We came up with a few different options. One idea was something called dual streaming, whereby we could scan a document once, we could then split that document into two different images. One image would be a direct representation of the original. The other image would then apply our cleanup technologies to it, our image science technologies to it, to be able to despeckle, deskew, drop out background colour, to be able to allow us to see that person's name or the date of birth or whatever was on that document, and then extract it and be able to perhaps OCR the document to use it further downstream when required. But given the nature of the work and the duplication of images with the file sizes and so on, that wasn't the best option for this project. So we jointly needed to come to an agreement as to what quality was good enough. And therefore we had to have a quality test sheet, a target sheet put in place, which both agreed to. And then we used our 35 years of image cleanup technology and understanding the scanners and how they work to fine tune them, to be able to turn certain things off within our devices and certain things on, to be able to use scales, to be able to really fine tune from moving from 42% to 43% and 44%, just to really get it the way that they actually needed that document. And I'm pleased to say that we were able to understand their image quality, but then get that running at the pace that they wanted to run at in order to achieve the project. And that came down to our experience and our knowledge of being able to work with documents, working with hardware and working with software together. And so then we were able to put a whole solution design together, which had a number of different products in there, from IBML, high volume open track devices, through to a range of devices of the i5650 from Kodak. We had with flatbed scanners attached to that as well. We're also looking at book scanners and wide format scanners within there. And the view was, no matter where it was coming from, we needed to be able to batch merge these documents from any of these applications, any of these devices, through a single source of software, to then be able to go through a quality checks and then pumped out into the various outputs that the customer required. And so for the software background of that, we were able to use SoftTrack that would allow IBML SoftTrack that allowed us to be able to do that. This can be quite complex and quite a long-going project that we did, and our professional services team stepped in and really stood up to the mark in pulling this together, understanding customers' requirements and what they really needed. But the point I wanted to try and make today is that all of that was done through a single local reseller in country. So we looked at it, and they selected the Kodak scanner. The key reason around that was the speed and the image quality. We discussed the colour matching was great, and were able to move forward under those conditions. They also liked the fact that some of these documents were different sizes, not just A4 or A3. Some were small, some were very long, and obviously the larger documents were then put onto the wide format documents. But we were able to deal with all of that. Some of the features also embedded within the devices, like the protection sensors within the device, was also key, because I didn't want these documents ripping and splitting if there was a stapler in it, for example. And of course then, the durability, the ability to be able to keep these machines running throughout their working day was key to them. They also selected the IBML scanners, the high volume, designed to deal with fast documents flying through these, and really eat up most of the volume that was required within this particular project. The key thing that we were able to do, though, through our expertise, our attentive training and knowledge on these devices and a number of other applications, is being able to really fine-tune that device to get it running exactly the way that they wanted it to be able to run, but then also integrate with their existing workflows and other equipment that was needed for this kind of project. The wide format scanners and book scanners were third-party devices that we're still able to integrate in, and the reason we were able to integrate that was through a single source of software that we decided to put in place. We assessed a few and we came up, the best one for this particular job was the IBML SoftTrack solution. Single platform, was able to have a single output into where they wanted it to be able to go. It could be configured to take input from all the different devices and therefore was very flexible. Bear in mind, these big projects tend to sway a little bit as to what's required as things progress as well. So that certainly gave us the flexibility that we required. This software then allowed us to bring all of these individual elements together into this solution for the customer, to the point where we're able to ramp up this project really quite quickly and have a really happy customer. Even more so, an ecstatic local reseller partner who had sold some production capture in the past with some Capture Pro software, but had done nothing to the size and scale of this particular project with IBML devices and IBML software as well. And we were able to support them throughout that. And so if you're sitting watching this as a Kodak reseller partner, thinking, well, that's okay, but I don't sell production capture, I only sell the lower end distributed capture products. My response to that would be, if you go and ask your customers the right questions, discover what large projects they may be having, then we can support you within that. We can bring in the team of expertise to help you to create the statement of works, to create the proof of concepts, and to deliver this project with you and on your behalf. And we can do that because, as you see on this slide, we have the hardware, the devices with the correct image quality and speed that people need. We have a range of software to be able to unite and unify the solutions that we're putting together. Most importantly, we have the experience on how to install and implement these projects, which allows us to be able to deliver a project on time and within budget.